rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world, and then shall the end come.
Tell us, when will these things be? And what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age?
Here's today's prophecy update. On August 15th through the 26th, the Israel Air Force will reportedly join the U.S., UAE, and Pakistani Air Forces for the prestigious Red Flag 16-4 exercise in Nevada. Israel has no formal relations with the United Arab Emirates or Pakistan, though the latter has promised diplomacy if Israel were to find a Palestinian solution which satisfies them. The Red Flag exercise is the U.S. Air Force's premier air-to-air combat training exercise, according to their site. During the exercise, allied countries join U.S. fighters in aerial dogfights between a red team and a blue team, working to complete their missions while surface-to-air missiles and ground-to-air defense mechanisms work to stop them. Israel was included in these special exercises last year as well as this year. This demonstrates, once again, the special relationship between Israel and the United States, a relationship that was prophesied in the Bible 2,000 years ago. Well, welcome once again to End of the Age, and today's the special day. This is Open Line. This is your day. If you're out there and you would like to be on the program with me, the number to call, 877-END-TIME. That's 877-363-8463. We've covered a lot of interesting territory today, and we can talk about some of the things we discussed on the program during this week or anything, whatever you'd like to talk about, especially related to Bible prophecy. That's what we do here. Let's just do a quick review while you're dialing. Remember, the number to call is 877-END-TIME. That's 877-363-8463. Monday, we talked about what is socialism, what is communism, what is capitalism. You know, most people cannot answer those simple questions. They simply don't know. And we talked about the fact that the Communist Party has united behind Hillary Clinton. This article was carried in WND on the 7th of this month. The Communist Party of the United States of America may not control actual votes, but what they lack in support is made up for in enthusiasm. Now, I want to go on. I don't want to give you the whole article right now, but continuing on Tuesday, we talked about going cashless. We're talking about the precursor to the mark of the beast. Sweden right now, 900 out of 1,600 banks no longer carry any cash. I mean, you can't deposit cash there. You cannot get cash there. Think about that. Over half of the banks in Sweden now. And they say that about 98% of all their transactions now are done cashless. So they're very close to a cashless society. Now, what does that mean to you and me? Well, the Bible prophesies a time when everyone will use numbers in order to buy or sell. Now, once you do that, now then they know every dime you spend and where you spent it and who you spent it to. They're going to track you 24/7. And that's exactly where Satan wants all of you, only it will be the Antichrist, which will be Satan in human form. Nevertheless, we talked about that on Tuesday. Then on Wednesday, we talked about the history and the future of Jerusalem. Jerusalem is a city like no other. And we talked about everything that has happened there, starting with Abraham all the way to the Battle of Armageddon, which will be fought over control of Jerusalem. Interesting to say the least. And then on Thursday, we discussed the new pact between Vladimir Putin, the head of Russia, Mr. Erdogan, the head of Turkey, and also Iran. Now those three big powers, Iran, Turkey, and Russia, are now coming together. And would you believe it? Those are three of the powers the Bible specifically says will come against Israel for the Battle of Armageddon a few years from now. So when we read in the paper this alliance, and we read in Ezekiel 38, there's about 7 or 8 nations listed there that will join together under a world government flag and invade Israel for Armageddon. 3 of those 7 or 8 nations are Turkey, Russia, and Iran. It's just astonishing when it's on the front page of our media that they've now unexpectedly formed this coalition. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the end time. Did not say the end time is coming. It is the end time right now. And if you want to know what you can do about it and fully understand it, well, we've got a course called Understanding the End Time that you can get from Endtime Ministries by dialing 1-800-END-TIME. But to be on the program with me today, you dial 877-END-TIME, and we're going to start the program going to Kentucky. Joe is calling. Hello, Joe. Joe, speak up. You're on
Hello?
the air. Turn your radio off and talk to me.
Hello?
Yes, Joe, you're on the air.
Okay. I just want to comment real quick about, what's going on with Donald Trump. And I don't know if you're aware of about the guy that was climbing his building the other day.
Yes.
All this stuff is basically a setup for the Democrats and the Republican establishment to make, Donald Trump look bad, and unfortunately it's going to be more than that. That's not the only, I was watching on the news that the Republican establishment is trying to make Trump like another George Bush, and, I know a lot of your audiences, for some reason are, still thinking about who they're going to vote for, And I believe Donald Trump is not the hope of America or the world. I believe Donald Trump is just a tool from God, to try to turn this country around. And, the bottom line is, just like you said before, it's, you want to choose world government, vote for Hillary Clinton. You want to choose, independence, the sovereignty. You choose, Donald Trump. I want to comment about that, and also the transgender issue. I've been talking to the governor's office from my state, and they have a lawsuit against the Obama administration for that. But I also told them that they did not need to abide by what the Supreme Court said as far as gay marriage. Because I've been talking to other people about that, and they say, well, the gay marriage issue has to be, if they want it to be the law of the land, they have to pass a law in Congress in order to make it a law officially. And the Supreme Court, they don't make laws. They just give their opinion and all that stuff. So, I told them, you don't need to abide by this. But, for some reason they are afraid to do anything because, and I asked them, do you think, if you disobey what the Supreme Court said, do you think Barack Obama is going to send the army and invade the state? You know, they just laughed about all the stuff. But I figure Barack Obama is capable of doing things like that. You know, if his will is not done in this country.
You know, Joe,
You know,
concerning the political situation, I've been listening to speeches on both sides, and I'll tell you the truth, by the time you come away, you feel dirty because it's like both sides are trying to call up the other side a worse name. It's almost like a couple of kids, to tell you the truth. However, I guess that's just politics. You know, in the true Church of Jesus Christ, we don't do things like that. We don't speak evil of other people. We don't make bad comments about other people. But in this political process, it's like you need to take a shower when you get done listening to their speeches. Nevertheless, that doesn't change the fact, like you mentioned, that there is a huge amount at stake here. And at stake is simply the independence of the United States of America. Yeah. Will we declare a declaration of interdependence and join the one world government, or will we strengthen our declaration of independence and retain our national sovereignty? Boiled down to its essence, that's what this whole thing is about, and that's what people really need to understand. Whether you like Hillary or Donald Trump or who you like, you just need to realize the sovereignty of the United States of America is at stake because President Obama and Hillary Clinton want to meld the United States into a one world governmental system, and it's far advanced. They've already passed the World Court, the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, the World Health Organization. They already are moving to globalize our world. And Donald Trump, I have been astounded. He speaks openly against globalism. And when I heard him first say that, I thought, I think he gets it. I think he understands what is really going on, because the establishment, both Republican and Democrat, are for one world government. And this is the thing all of us need to understand. A lot of people say, oh, part of his own party's against him. Well, sure they are, because they've been cooperating with the Democrats to move us toward this one world government. And the first and biggest step toward world government are these trade policies such as NAFTA, such as the World Trade Organization, now the TPP, because they know if you join countries together economically, that political union will inevitably follow. So that's what everybody needs to understand. Joe, appreciate the phone call very much. I'm going to let you go. Have others waiting in line. I thank you. Let's go now to Missouri. Freddie's calling from Missouri. Hello, Freddie.
Good. Yeah, thank you, Pastor. Real quick, in the Bible prophecy, is it in there on the tribe of Judah, the line of tribe of Judah?
Now, exactly what are you asking me?
Well, would that be in the you said that Britain has the lion as the symbol.
Yes, Great Britain its official symbol is the lion.
Okay.
Now, you're right that also Jesus Christ is called the Lion of the tribe of Judah.
Yeah.
And in Israel, they use a lion for their symbol as well. But in Daniel chapter 7, you can prove it's specifically referring to Great Britain, because it shows that the lion had eagle's wings. The United States is the eagle growing out of the lion. That's where we came out of Great Britain. And then the prophecy says, I watched till the wings thereof were broken off from the lion. That has now happened when the Declaration of Independence took place. So when you put all the pieces together, it's very obvious that the lion of Daniel 7 verse 4 is referring to Great Britain.
I see. Well, thank you, sir.
Okay, well, I thank you too, Freddie. This is Open Line. It's your day, and we've got wide open lines today. So if you'd like to be on the air with me, the number to call is 877-Endtime. That's 877-363-8463. Now, while I'm waiting on you to call, I was shocked almost off my chair just a few minutes ago when I read on the internet, I read that a Satanist led an invocation at an Alaska Assembly meeting. Listen to this. A debate over religious freedom has led to a Satanist leading an invocation at one Alaska borough's assembly meeting. Following a discussion over whether to do away with invocations entirely, the Kenai Peninsula Borough Assembly decided to open invocations up to all religions. According to Assembly President Blaine Gilman, a group of pastors used to previously lead the Assembly's invocations. Under the new rules, however, anyone can choose to lead an invocation in the name of his or her religion. During Tuesday's Assembly meeting, Iris Fontana led an invocation in the name of Satan on behalf of the Satanic Temple. Listen to what Fontana said. Let us stand now, unbowed and unfettered by arcane doctrines, born of fearful minds in darkened times. Let us embrace the Luciferian impulse to eat of the tree of knowledge and dissipate our blissful and comforting delusions of old. Let us demand that individuals be judged for their concrete actions, not their fealty to arbitrary social norms and illusory categorizations. Let us reason our solutions with agnosticism in all things, holding fast only to that which is demonstrably true. Let us stand firm against any and all arbitrary authority that threatens the personal sovereignty of all or one. That which will not bend must break, and that which can be destroyed by truth should never be spared its demise. It is done. Hail Satan. Yeah, that's what I thought. When I saw that this utterance, I'm not even going to call it a prayer, this utterance was offered in a governmental assembly in Alaska, I just said, you've got to be kidding me. You say, but if you have freedom of religion, anybody can do it. How did we get by without doing all this crazy, insane stuff for the last 240 years that we've been a country? You know our problem? When you deny that there's anything true, then all of a sudden you've got to say everything may be true. Now, think about that. Here we are putting a worshiper of Lucifer, a worshiper of Satan up before a governmental body. I mean, why can't we just say no? Well, the Supreme Court may slap it down. Well, that would be great, because that would be akin to the other action they took to declare that same-sex marriage is constitutional. When you believe same-sex marriage is constitutional, you'll probably say that prayer to Satan is a good thing as well, because you're actually praying to Satan when you approve what God says it is an abomination. The Bible says if a man lies with mankind as with womankind, it is an abomination. So if you like one abomination like the Supreme Court does, you'll probably like another abomination. Now, I know I'm speaking very forthrightly right now. I intend to. We have lost our minds. We need to be able to say yes to truth and say no to delusion. But we've lost the ability to do that. How are we going to get it back? One way. When Jesus Christ comes back, I promise you, there will be no prayers to Satan. When Jesus Christ comes back and is crowned King of Kings and Lord of Lords, there will be no prayers to Allah. There's going to be no Allahu Akbars. Those will all go by the way. The Bible says, and in that day, there shall be one Lord and his name one, and I already know what his name will be. His name is going to be Jesus Christ, because Jesus Christ was God manifest in the flesh. There will be no worship to any other God. So, hail Satan, that's what she said. Wow. Hated to even say it on the air, but I felt like you needed to know there's no end to where this insanity goes if we don't get back to the truth. What is the truth? That's what Pilate said when Jesus said, I come to bear witness of the truth. While he was on trial in Pilate's judgment hall, Pilate cynically said, well, what is the truth? Well, Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Jesus Christ is the truth. He that heareth my sayings and doeth them shall never die. The only way The only way to truth in your life and mine is to hear the sayings of Jesus Christ and to do them. Let's go now to South Carolina. EJ is calling. Hello, EJ.
Hello. Yes, I had a question about yoga. Should Christians do yoga, and is there any scriptural reference to that? And I'll take your answer offline. Thank you.
Well, thank you, EJ. And I don't know much about yoga. I've never done yoga. I have read that there are pagan types of things that you do when you do yoga. However, I don't want to tell you that unless I do my research. So I'm sorry I cannot answer you definitively. Maybe someone in our listening audience can do a better job than I am doing right now. I don't know anything about yoga. Some of the things that people do with yoga, I don't feel comfortable with, but to tell you I know whether it is in fact demonic or anti-God, I'm not sure I can tell you, but I imagine we'll hear from somebody that knows more about it than I do before this program's over, so stay tuned. Sorry I can't do better than that for you. Let's now go to New York. Sandy's calling. Hello, Sandy.
Hello, Dr. Baxter. I have two kind of questions or comments for you. First one is, when the Antichrist gets killed or wounded in the head, does it say, or do we have any idea who's going to be doing that to him, or how it's going to be done? And then the second thing I wanted to mention is that if 1/3 of the mankind population is going to be killed during the war, wouldn't it be great if it was ISIS, which is the 1/3? Could it be that ISIS, that whole jihadists and all those groups, brotherhoods and all, were made up 1/3 of the people that mankind is going to be killed?
Well, first of all, Sandy, those
are my comments or questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Sandy. First of all, the concept that the Antichrist is going to have a wound in the head and then live is not a biblical concept, even though it is commonly taught in many prophecy books. Here's what the Bible actually says. You'll find it in Revelation chapter number 13. In the Bible, it says that there is a 7-headed, 10-horned beast, and that one of the 7 heads is wounded unto death, and the deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. So we have to answer a couple of questions before we can understand the scripture. When you go back to Daniel chapter number 7, there are 4 beasts there, and the Bible says clearly in that chapter that these 4 beasts are 4 nations. The nations are Great Britain, Russia, Germany, and a 10-horned, a 10-nation alliance out of Europe. Now, all of the beasts have 1 head each except for one, and that's Germany, the leopard. The leopard had 4 heads. Why does that matter? Because a beast in Bible prophecy always represents a nation or a kingdom, and multiple heads on that beast will represent the number of times that nation will rise and fall. Well, Germany's had the First Reich, Second Reich, Hitler's Third Reich, and the Fourth Reich. The word Reich means kingdom. The Fourth Reich, which is now rising. So when we move from Daniel 7 to Revelation 13, all of the elements of those 4 beasts are brought over to Revelation 13, except for one element, and that is the eagle's wings on the back of the lion. The eagle's wings are not in the combo beast, which represents the end-time world government of the Antichrist. But all 7 heads are there. 1 for the lion, 1 for the bear, 4 for the leopard, 1 for the 10-horned beast. So all 7 heads are on this beast. It says in the passage, and one of those 7 heads was wounded unto death.
Unto death, right.
And the deadly wound was healed. So which head out of the 7 heads, which one was wounded to death? Whenever Hitler was defeated at World War II, they decided to cut Germany in half. Now we're talking about the Third Reich here, the 3rd head of the leopard. They cut Germany in half, creating East Germany and West Germany. The logic was, Germany has plunged us into war 3 times in the last 70 years. We can never let it happen again. So we're going to weaken Germany to the point that she will not have enough manpower or economic might to threaten world peace again. And they did. They put East Germany in the communist sphere of influence. They put West Germany in the Western sphere of influence. Well, it worked for a while. However, in 1968, I saw the prophecy and I knew that the Berlin Wall would come down, the two Germanys would be reunited, and that would be the healing of the deadly wound, and that would be the event that would bring the one world government together. Well, that's exactly what happened. On November the 9th of 1989, and by the way, I wrote all this in a book in 1986, and it was published on the market. In 1989, the Berlin Wall came down on November the 9th, and within 20 days, Mikhail Gorbachev, President Herbert Walker Bush, and Pope John Paul II met together, and they came out of those meetings announcing the birth of the New World Order. So, the fall of the Berlin Wall, which, by the way, they called a deadly wound. I have several quotations where they said this rusty knife wound that cuts through the heart of civilization must someday be healed. And the day the Berlin Wall fell, Time magazine said, it was a 29-mile wound through the heart of civilization, and it is finally gone. So, the fall of the Berlin Wall was the healing of the deadly wound and the beginning of the New World Order, the one world government, which the Antichrist will soon rule over now, and that will fulfill the prophecy. So, that's what that means.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, because what it felt like to me was like, the Antichrist wanted to be like Jesus and have all. That's how I saw it. Have to be killed and then come back to life.
I got you, Sandy. I'll tell you what, I'm going to let you go. We're up against a hard break, but stay with us for the second half of our program and we'll answer your other question. You're listening to End of the Age. Call us. Our operator's number, 800 Endtime, and we'll speak to you soon.
Rada cut to the chase. Our stated purpose will be to save the world from global warming, polluted water, and contaminated air. However, she continued, our real goal is to form a world government founded on the principles of democratic socialism. Mora smiled at her candor. Rada, he said, this room is one of the few places in the world that you could make that statement without creating an anti-world government revolution. All of us must be very discreet about what we say and to whom we speak. The politically correct phrase that we will use from now on will be global governance. But Morris, Rada protested, do you think a slight change in wording could make that much difference? Let's face it, it's only a matter of semantics. I know, Rada, but when leading the masses, perception is everything. Patriotism is one of the most deeply held emotions in the heart of mankind. People will proudly send their sons to die in a war that they don't even understand, all for the love of their country. We will need to enlist every journalist and every newscaster sympathetic to our cause to help sell our message, which will have to be clearly defined.
To order the novel Dark Intentions, written by Irvin Baxter, call 1-800-ENDTIME or go to endtime.com.
If your radio station only carries the first 30 minutes of End of the Age, go to endtime.com and click the Watch button to continue today's broadcast. You can also finish up later by clicking the Archives button.
Before I answer the second half of Sandy's question, I want to take just a moment to remind all of you out there that Judy and I will be leaving for Israel on October the 27th. It's a 12-day trip. It's October 27th through November the 7th. You'll be back on the 7th. Election Day is the 8th. So you'll be back in time to cast your ballot. We made sure of that because this may be the most crucial election America has ever held. If you're for national sovereignty and if you want to preserve the independence of the United States of America, whatever you do, make sure you fulfill your responsibility at this critical time. But we would love for you to go to Israel with us. It is the trip of a lifetime, I promise you. And you'll be with Judy and I every step of the way. We'll have dinner, breakfast, dinner, supper together. I'll be with you on the buses. We'll be given special prophecy briefings at each of our stops. Most of our tour is not only historic, not only will you walk in the footsteps of Jesus and his disciples and the prophets, but you'll also stand in the places where some of the greatest prophetic fulfillments of all time are getting ready to take place. You're actually going to stand at the place where Jesus Christ will touch down with his feet when he comes back a few years from now. You'll stand there. You're going to stand looking over the plain of Megiddo where the battle of Armageddon will begin. You're going to stand there. I'm going to teach all about the battle of Armageddon at that time. You talk about thrilling, enthralling, absolutely amazing. I can possibly describe it all to you. But you know the place where Jesus said those who live in Judea will have to run for their lives a few years from now? You're going to go through Judea. Fortunately, it's safe today. However, it will not be a few years from now when Jews who live there will have to run for their life. So you're going to see it all. It's a wonderful, wonderful experience. I'm telling you, you got to go with us. The number to call, 800 Endtime, 800-363-8463. Ask to speak to someone about the tour, but sign up. There's not a lot of days left. You still have a little time, but don't procrastinate. Call us today. All right. Well, back before we go to our next caller, I want to get back real quickly because Sandy asked about what's going to happen in World War III. Will ISIS be destroyed? I do believe ISIS will be destroyed. The Bible teaches that the war will begin from the Euphrates River. That's the heartland of ISIS power, is the Euphrates River. I not only believe, though, that ISIS will be destroyed, but I believe a great part of Islam is going to be destroyed. Probably a lot of China is going to be wiped out, maybe all. 2.4 billion people total will be destroyed. And so the answer is yes. Islam is going to take a horrible hit, and then the center of world power will swing away from Islam and away from America to Europe. The Holy Roman Empire will be reborn, and once again we'll have a political leader from Europe and a spiritual leader from Rome leading the world in the last times. The Bible teaches these personages will be called the Antichrist and the false prophet. Hope that helps. Let's get back to the phones now. Leanne is calling from right here in Texas. Hello, Leanne.
Well, hello, Pastor. Happy Friday.
Thank you very much. Same to you.
Yes, sir. Yes, I wanted to call and comment for that lady that was questioning about yoga.
Yes.
So when I was about 14, I was in the 9th grade, and I was going to a Catholic school, and this wasn't one of our classes, normally. However, they just went ahead and decided that they were going to, try this out. And a teacher was teaching the class of yoga. And I only remember showing up to that class maybe twice. I don't know if it made me feel uncomfortable or what. However, it just wasn't for me. And so the one thing that I have found out, though, a few years later, that you know how Halloween is to children. At first it's like innocent. All it is about the candy and going to people's houses.
Yes.
Well, then you find out later that Halloween isn't so good. So anyway, when it comes to yoga, it's under the spirit of divination. And so she may need to look in her dictionary or just, look under the description of spirit of divination, and she will find out all the things that are under that spirit, and that yoga shows that.
Well, Leanne, thank you very much. It looks like I'm going to have to do some homework between now and next week because, and I didn't even want to know about yoga, but it looks like I'm going to be forced to learn more about it because I'm sure it is an important question. And if it does have satanic or evil connotation, we certainly need to tell everybody about it so that they will not involve themselves in it. But I sure appreciate your help, Leanne.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right.
Y'all have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. And let's go now to David calling from right here in Texas. Hello, David.
Hello, Irvin.
Yes.
Irvin, You're right. We should have our focus on this upcoming election big time. And here again, we have the selection between two bad choices in all of our Christian opinion, I think. But nevertheless, we're going to be called on to vote. So, Irvin, I think this election is going to pretty much say to the American people, our population in this country, do we stand for God at all? Or we have thrown God completely to the wind and all truth to the wind in America on each one of our individual votes in November. I think this is the biggest, going to be the biggest dichotomy of the American people that's ever been done, especially under the teaching we've been under for 8 years under Obama, how he's tried to separate and divide America on racial lines again. I think also that however this election comes out will pretty much say who's going to join the Antichrist and take the mark of the beast and who doesn't have that inclination to do so on how they vote this time. I'm going to go out and say that. That's my opinion. And what do you think?
Well, thank you very much, David. Well, let me say this to you. Even though I would not classify either of the candidates in the area of Christian, both of them, from all I understand, have the ability of cussing like sailors, both Hillary and Donald Trump. Yet I think a person who has an understanding of Bible prophecy is going to know instinctively who to vote for, because the prophecies of the Bible foretell there's coming a one world government, a one world economy, and a one world religion. Now, if you know that and know that the Antichrist is the one that's going to be heading all of these things, then you know you should be against one world government, against one world economy, and against one world religion. If you know that you're against those three things, then you know who you should vote for in this election. You're not voting for a Christian, you're not voting for a Messiah. You're voting for a politician, but the issues are quite clear. And frankly, even though Donald Trump, I don't think, can qualify to be a Christian, and I'm not being judgmental, I'm just simply saying that he does stand for many things that America needs to get back to. For instance, he says we're going to get back to saying Merry Christmas again. Well, we've been under the last how many years? If they say Merry Christmas, they say it under their breath, lest they be slapped with a lawsuit from the ACLU. And now that you've got this guy, as rough as he is, coming out openly saying we're going to do this again, and we're also going to get out of these international trade deals, and we're also going to get rid of globalism. Well, to me, he's probably the best candidate we've had in 50 years as far as the prophecies of the Bible are concerned, because George Herbert Walker Bush was an internationalist. He was a globalist. He was for the New World Order. Same thing was true for Clinton. Same thing for Obama. Same thing for George W. Bush to a degree. So, to tell you the truth, as much as Donald Trump has been vilified, he may be closer to God's program for the United States than any presidential candidate we've had in a long, long time. So I think that's got to be said. Again, you're not voting because of his spiritual status or Hillary's spiritual status. If you were voting on that issue, you probably would stay home, but we cannot this time, because we're voting on the future of the United States of America. Will we support Israel or will we not? Will we support world government or will we not? Those are the issues that we better understand crystal clear, and then we'll know who to vote for without any doubt whatsoever.
Thank you, Irvin.
Okay, well, I thank you too, David. Wow. What a day we live in. And even though I don't like the hateful rhetoric, it goes against my Christian beliefs. I don't like it when people talk negative, 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 but all politics is negative, 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 pretty much. At the same time, drill a little deeper and see, is this person for globalism or are they against it? Is this person for one world economy or are they against it? Is this person for school choice or are they against it? If they're for big government, they're against school choice because they want the government to use the schools to condition the minds of the populace. If you're for school choice, you're saying take the education out of the hands of the government, return it to the people. I mean, these are big, big issues, and they're crystal clear in the present presidential campaign. We need to know exactly where we stand. And even though there are a few issues that you may not like at all, and I agree with you totally, yet on the big, big issues that are going to turn the direction of this country in these end times, well, the choices are crystal clear. We do have open lines right now, so if you want to jump in, the number to call right now is 877-END-TIME. That's 877-363-8463. I want to take a moment now to talk to you about partnership with Endtime Ministries. As I see these prophetic fulfillments, and I've been astounded this week as I collect our news items that we will talk about on this program. Some of them are almost like reading straight out of the Bible. I mean, Russia, Iran, and Turkey in alliance, straight from the Bible. Read Ezekiel chapter number 38, the Battle of Armageddon. Gog, Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, all those names apply to modern Russia. Meshech is the root word for Moscow. If you look it up in an unabridged dictionary, it'll say the root word for Muscovy or Moscow. Then Persia is going to come down against Israel with Russia. Persia is Iran. She was known by Persia until 1935. And Persia is simply, Iran is simply the Farsi way of saying Persia. Farsi is the official language of Iran. And so they call themselves Iran, which is the way you say Persia in Iran, in Farsi. And then Turkey is Togarma. And they will also come down against Israel. So we live in the middle of these prophetic fulfillments right now. They're converging on us right now rapidly. And we're trying to reach this world as fast as we possibly can. That's the reason we're here every day. That's the reason we're on television. That's the reason we put out every magazine, is because we're trying to teach. That's our tool. If you're not yet a partner with Endtime Ministries, why not? We need you now more than ever. It's the best investment you can make on this planet. The number to call to be a partner with Endtime Ministries, 1-800-END-TIME. Tell our operators what you would like to do. We need you, God needs you, and you'll be blessed. 800-END-TIME. In March 2000, I was leading our annual prophecy tour to Israel. We had made the decision to stop by the United Nations before leaving the United States. After taking the tour of the UN, there was a man who was going to give our group a briefing. And here's what he said to us. He said, now, some people think that the United Nations is a world government. He said, it's nothing like that. He said, the UN is involved in global governance. And I was stunned when he said it. And I just couldn't resist. I felt like I had to ask the man without abusing him, without taking advantage of him. And so I asked him, sir, could you explain to us the difference between global governance and global government? He stopped and he swallowed a couple of times and he said, you know, that may not be easy. I knew it wasn't going to be easy because I'd already looked it up in Webster's Third International Dictionary. It has a one-word definition. The word governance means government.
To find out more about our DVDs on world government, call 1-800-END-TIME or go to endtime.com.
This is the critical thing that I want you to understand. We're not endorsing candidates here. We're discussing issues, huge issues, religious issues, biblical issues. So if you know what the issues are, then it's easy to find out which candidate stands on which side of those critical, important issues. If you're for globalism, you're for the one world government of the Antichrist soon to come. If you are for international trade deals that handicap the United States of America and that are pushing us together into a global system of economic unity, then you need to study. If you don't know well enough who stands for what, then you probably shouldn't vote at all. You're not informed enough. But if you understand what Hillary believes and what Donald Trump believes on these core issues, then it'll be a no-brainer who you should vote for. We're going back to the phones now. We're going to Mary, calling from Florida. Hello, Mary.
Oh, hi, Irvin. Hi, Irvin. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Nice to hear from you. What's on your mind?
Well, I just want to say thank you for your time, the teachings in the ministry, and also I want to say thank you to America for giving me the opportunity to live in this country. I'm a legal immigrant. I became a U.S. citizen. I love this nation, and I'm voting for Donald Trump because my country was free. We were a democracy, and it became socialist, and then it's a communist country. My family back home is suffering. Many don't have food to eat, no water, no electricity. They lost their freedoms. They're being persecuted. So I don't want that for America. So we have to use our wisdom, or God's wisdom. We have to get informed, and we have to vote. I'm voting for freedom. I'm voting for the sovereignty of the United States because I have a child.
Mary, do you mind telling us which country you came from?
I came from Venezuela.
Venezuela. And
yes.
they're having a terrible time in Venezuela right now,
yes,
like you mentioned. So I'd like to ask everyone to pray for Mary's parents. They're still down there. And used to Venezuela was very prosperous. It was doing wonderful. They had access to oil.
Yes.
But now then it's all gone south because the government tried to install socialism, and it has been a disaster for Venezuela. So I sure appreciate you calling, Mary.
No problem, Irvin. And I also want to say that Hillary Clinton reminds me of former President Hugo Chavez, a guy who had an agenda, but he hid his agenda. He was a criminal, and people really wanted a change in the country, and they did not do their homework very well. He was elected, and he turned around, and he sold out the country totally. And my people are suffering tremendously. They don't have food. They don't have, the rich people left the country. The middle class disappeared, and they are controlling the poor people totally. There's no human rights. They're killing people left and right. We are having terrorists living in the country as well. Like we are seeing around the world, many, people from the Middle East is entering into my country too, and they're killing people there too. So it's a disaster.
Well, Mary, I thank you very much for calling, and you make us want to pray for Venezuela and for your parents in particular. I sure appreciate your firsthand report as to what happens to a country when socialism takes over.
Correct. Please, America, get informed and vote. Vote for America, for liberty. It's not about being Republican or being a Democrat. It's about America and the liberty. Thank you, Irvin. God bless you.
Thank you, Mary, and I could not have said it nearly as well myself. Your words contain great power, and we appreciate that. We thank you for that. You know, I saw this happen to another country. Rhodesia was the wealthiest country in Africa until during the Carter years, the government was a white minority government. And of course, we hate racial prejudice. And so the nations of the world said that Rhodesia had to replace its government and choose a black government. Well, Mr. Ian Smith, who was the head of Rhodesia at the time, saw the handwriting on the wall. So he decided that he would find a black person that still believed in freedom and the principles of free enterprise, and he would nurture that person to take his place. He did that. However, the United Nations says, no, we will not accept that. And they slapped economic sanctions on Rhodesia. Well, Rhodesia survived fine as long as the U.S. would not recognize those sanctions. And prior to Jimmy Carter, we would not recognize those sanctions. But just about 3 or 4 months after Carter took office, he said the United States is going to recognize the sanctions against Rhodesia. Ian Smith saw that his time was up. He would not be able to survive without the support of the United States of America. So he abdicated his position. He was replaced by a communist by the name of Mugabe. Mugabe still rules Rhodesia. They renamed the country Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe today is the poorest nation in Africa. So socialism took Rhodesia from being the wealthiest nation to the poorest nation in Africa, and that's where they are today. Corruption is rife. It's a horrible, horrible story. It sounds like to me that Venezuela is on the same path. Somehow, some way, we've got to understand the difference between socialism and free enterprise. And this is very deceptive because right now they don't call it socialism anymore. You know what they call it? Social justice. And they don't call themselves a socialist anymore. They call themselves a progressive. Now, Mr. Bernie Sanders openly says, I'm a socialist, and yet he agrees on almost every issue with Hillary Clinton. She calls herself a progressive. The truth of the matter is, they're both socialist. And President Obama is a socialist, but he fooled the American people, just like Mr. Chavez did. He fooled the American people, but he did say that he was for wealth redistribution, but the American people didn't pay any attention. Now, let me tell you, if President Obama, if Mr. Obama would have believed in freedom and free enterprise, I would have wanted to vote for him because I thought it was such a wonderful thing that after three or four generations away from slavery, that we could actually have a black president. I wanted to vote for him. But knowing that he was a Marxist, I knew it before he was ever voted in the first time. Knowing that, I could not vote for him. But at least the majority of the American people blindly voted for him no matter. Most people don't even bother to know the difference between socialism and free enterprise. And now the problem is compounded because now Pope Francis is a dyed-in-the-wool socialist. He continually rails against capitalism, and he continually edifies social justice, as he calls it. And it's a very deceiving term because there's no justice to it. If I hold a gun to your head and take your money, even if I go give it to someone else, is that justice? You earned money, I robbed you and gave to someone else. Well, that's what socialism's all about. It takes away from the producer and gives to those who don't produce. It's called socialism. It always takes a nation into the ground, and we need to understand that. The Pope doesn't call socialism socialism, he calls it social justice. He doesn't call capitalism capitalism. You know what he calls it? The liquid economy. What's he mean by that? That means it's free enterprise. Prices seek their own level. Production seeks its own level. And it's proven to be the most efficient form of an economy in the history of mankind. And yet he's out there every day crusading against it. And because of the allegiance the Roman Catholics have to this Pope, many of them are following him blindly. I don't care whether you're Catholic or Protestant, socialism always ends up in disaster. And we need to realize that we're voting between socialism and free enterprise in this election. And don't you ever doubt it. You say, what's the difference between socialism and communism? Socialism is defined as an interim step to communism. It's an interim step between capitalism and communism. There's not much difference. Mikhail Gorbachev was a dyed-in-the-wool communist. He was the head of the Communist Party of Russia. Yet he called himself a democratic socialist. Well, the story goes on and on and on. We need to be educated. The Bible says, my people perish for a lack of knowledge. We need to understand what's going on. Ladies and gentlemen, hear me crystal clear. You are going to vote in November between free enterprise and socialism. You say, but capitalism is bad. Let me tell you, capitalism has lifted this country to be the wealthiest nation on earth. It's only with the installing of increasing numbers of socialistic policies that we're starting to sink. Since 1935, we've added one socialistic program after another, and every time we add, it takes away from those who produce, give to those who don't produce, and consequently, everything goes down, down, down. We're in the process of that right now. And that's the reason we need to reverse the trends towards socialism, and we need to take things back to freedom. Remember that thing called freedom, where you're not under control? You don't have to fill out 80,000 forms a year in order to run a business. You're free. You're not under control anymore. And remember, even our forefathers, they put it in our Constitution that there was to be no income tax. Yet, they slipped through a constitutional amendment to pass an income tax under the guise it would be temporary to support World War I. Well, how temporary was it? Well, it's 2016. It's now been 100 years, and it sure does. I don't see any end in sight. We have other social legislation, property tax, pay off your home. Guess what? You'll still have to pay $500, $600, $700 a month to live there, because the government really claims it's theirs. They're just allowing you to live there. You don't pay your property tax, they'll come and confiscate it from you and sell it for taxes. Now that's socialism. That's where we are. We've got to reverse these trends, and we need to understand these issues. And they're all prophetic, because the Bible teaches the kingdom of the Antichrist is going to be a socialist one world government. We're real close to it right now. But America wants out. Most of the world's going. America wants out. Now's the time for us to get out. Well, one more time, I want to ask you, partner with Endtime Ministries. Call us, 1-800-ENDTIME. Become a partner today. If you're not yet a subscriber to Endtime Magazine, what are you waiting on? It's the End Time. That's the one magazine you should subscribe to. 800-END-TIME is the number to call. God bless you all. See you on Monday.
End of the Age is a production of Endtime Ministries. This broadcast will be available on our website, endtime.com, in the archives section. On our website, you'll also find more information about how current events are fulfilling Bible prophecy. To reach our operators, call 1-800-END-TIME. That's 1-800-363-8463. Endtime Ministries is partner supported. We would like to say thank you to our partners who made this broadcast possible. To do what Matthew 24:14 said, to reach the world with the gospel of the kingdom.